Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today I'm going to be doing part 3 of my playthrough of scenario number 58, Mopping Up, from Band of Brothers Old Breed South Pacific. This is published by Worthington Publishing and is designed by Dean Halley and Jim Krohn. This is, as I mentioned, part 3. We will be covering turns 4, 5, and 6 of this 6-turn scenario. If you did not watch parts 1 and 2, you may want to go back and do that just so you're up to speed on the situation. Part 1 covers turn 1 and the scenario setup and special rules and so on and so forth. And the second part has turns 2 and 3. This is going to be turn number 4. So I'm going to move my turn marker from 3 to 4. And we'll get underway with the US moving first. So they will do their operations first. Their operations range is 2 to 4. So they must do 2. They must use 2 units, and they can use up to 4 units. Actually, I missed some. This guy is concealed as well. And so I believe is this one. Okay, so we're ready to go. So I've kind of been trying to get this platoon down here, which has now lost one of its squads and had another of its squads reduced. So it's down to a squad and a half and a machine gun team. We've been bumping up against the colonel here, and he's been a tough nut to crack. So I think what we're going to do now is we are going to maybe fire our machine gun at the colonel here at that stack. So that is a 7 firepower. We get a 1 hindrance for this kunai grass and a -2, so we need a 4. So we're going to roll and get an 8, and that has been kind of the story of this game, poor rolls. So that's 1 unit used. At this point, honestly, I'm not sure what I'm going to do here because this has been, down here has been tough, and I'm probably just going to ignore these guys for the moment and move up here. Now we have a melee situation set up here already. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this machine gun team here, okay, and then now this guy can fire upon him, which he will, so this will be opportunity fire. We use our proficient firepower of 2, so it's 2 plus 3 for adjacency would be 5. -2 for the jungle knocks it back to a 3. So they'll need a 3 to get a hit. They roll an 8, so they do not get a hit. They get marked used. Now they're going to fire. They use their proficient firepower because they moved, and this is assault fire. So it's 6. -2 is a 5. 4 rather. Sorry. Woo. That's some bad math. And they also roll an 8. So no dice for either side there. And that's 2. Now I think we'll do this guy here. And, well, what do we want to do with him is the question. Here we have a suppressed weapons team. So let's see if we can activate this weapons team. So I will need to roll a 6. To do so. So let's try it. So we'll roll a 6, roll 4, 6, get it. So now he can fire here. Now his proficient firepower is a 5. We lose 1 for the kunai grass and another 2. So it's only going to be a 2. So a 1 or a 2 is a hit, which is hard to get, but we're going to try it. And we didn't get it. So he's done. And I think that removes the concealment on the unit on top. That's 3. The thing is, if I try to move, well, let's do it. We're going to move him here. Now he can do op fire. To do it, he'll have to change facing. So he has to do, in my opinion, he has to do it. So he's going to turn, right? Because his facing was this way. So now he's facing this way, and this is This is to his, well, yeah, because he's facing this spine. So these two hexes are now his front. So his 2 here is going to become a 1, but he's adjacent, so he gains 3 for that and loses 1 for the kunai. So he's going to gain 2, so it's a 3. So it's still a hard shot for him to make, but we'll see. I'll use the black one. And they roll a 7, so they fail and get used. And now he's going to move in for melee, and he will also be marked used. This is 1.5 movement points, that's 3. The US squads have 5. Japanese squads would normally have 5. In this scenario, they're limited to 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 units used, we're done. Flip it over to the Japanese. Now in the first 3 turns, they got reinforcements at the start of their operations. This time they do not. So here's the thing with the Japanese situation is that they are basically playing defense in this, trying to stay alive, so to speak. This guy should be facing like that, in my opinion. So we do have our weapons team here. We may as well use it. So because he's not concealed, he may as well fire. So he's going to fire at our stack here. So he's got a firepower of 7. We do have the -1 to make it a 6 for the kunai, and then another -2. So it's a 4. So he's going to roll, and he gets a 3. So that is going to suppress both these units. So I'll put a suppression here and a suppression here. And he's not used yet, which is why I didn't just use the same counter. So now he's used, that's 1. They have to use 3. Their command range is, or operations range rather, is 3 to 5. So he'll take his shot too. I mean, there's no reason not to. It's 4, -1, -2. So he needs a 1, which is still possible. I forgot that 3 on the last roll. He missed his shot, by the way. That was a 7. But I need to roll for the event. So these are both used now. Going to need to roll for the event here because the Japanese have their own event table here. And when you roll a 3, you roll for the Japanese event. So we're going to roll for the Japanese event. It's a 4. It's Fug Babe Ruth. The Japanese player selects an unmounted enemy infantry unit. If it's concealed, remove the conceal marker. If it's unused and not a decoy or wire, the Japanese player rolls a die. On a result of 9 or higher, the unit fires at an imaginary target, causing muzzle flash and being marked as used. If it's not a marine unit, you add 3 to the die roll. We actually don't have a concealed unit, so there's no, you can't do anything there. Actually, no, it doesn't say that. It just says unmounted enemy infantry unit. So let's say it's this one. If we roll a 9 or a 10, he'll be marked used. Look at that. The rolling in this game has been very one-sided in favor of the Japanese. I will just say that. So that was worthwhile. Now he's used, that was 2 of his 3. We'll have the Colonel fire as well. Why not? He's a 5. He's going to fire here. We'll try to suppress this one. So 5 -1 for the kunai is 4, -2 for the cover. So he needs a 2. And he rolls a 10. A 10 is always a miss. Now we'll let the guy underneath him fire as well. Now he's a 4. So he's going to need a 1 because he's going to take a -3. So he needs to roll a 1, and he does not. So, but he did roll a 3, so that's another event. We'll roll for the event. It's an 8. An 8 for the Japanese is ambush. If there is at least 1 melee currently on the board, the Japanese player immediately rolls a melee attack with one of his units in melee with no bonus. If there's no current melee, then no event. All right, so there is a melee. It's right here. So he's going to roll. Now his melee number is a 1. So it's unlikely to do anything, hopefully, if you're American. And he rolled a 9 and a 10, so nothing. So, yeah, there's no, okay, yeah, no ambush bonus, I guess is what it meant there by that, no bonus. So that is 4 now. 2 here, 2 here. They're done. They can do 5, but they're going to choose not to. They have 3 units, and next operations, they'll probably just drop op fires on those and be done, depending on what I do as the American side. So now we're back to the Americans. They don't have a whole lot available here. They do have this guy who has not done anything, so let's take a crack with him. Rolled a 6, so that passes the morale check. So he's going to fire at our weapons team, I guess. So his firepower is a 5. We're going to take a -3 because of the kunai grass and the jungle. Rolled a 7, so nothing. So I'm just going to drop the used on top of both to indicate the whole stack has been used. So that's 1 activation. We have to do 1 more. Can't do this because they're in melee. They're used. What we can do is move this guy into melee. So let's do that. So this will be 1.5 and 3 more rather. So 4.5 total. And they are now in melee as well. And the Japanese didn't have anybody with visibility to see them, so that works out okay. Now we're going to take this guy and we're going to move here for our 3rd activation. I'm going to probably use all 4. This is our 3rd activation. So this is going to be, he's going to get opportunity fire, opportunity fire. So it's a 3. Adjacency gives him 3 more, so that's 6. -2 for the jungle is 4. And they rolled a 2, which will be an event, but it's also a reduction, or not a reduction, a suppression on the American. I'm going to roll now for the American morale check to see if he can get into melee. So he has to roll a 6 or less and rolls a 7, so no. Fantastic. He gets marked used, and now we roll for the event. Now I rolled a 2, so that means it's the defender's event, so the U.S. gets to employ the event. This is a regular event, number 8. Remove used and or op fire counters from 2 infantry units. I don't have vehicles, guns, or carriers. If these are removed from a side that has finished using units for that turn, they may be used the next time the operation range reverts. All right, so I have the opportunity then to do something here by removing used from 2 units. So I think I'm going to remove it from here so that I can hopefully get into melee. That would be 1. And the other one, I'm going to remove it from here so that I can fire on this guy again. Now that was 3 activations. Now I have 1, 2, 3 I can use next turn. So, well, I can use him again. Let's roll his, let's roll to see if he can get into this hex again. And this time he can, so he's going to go into melee. And now we'll drop the used on him. That's 4. We are done. We'll now move for next turn. Back to the Japanese. They really don't have much they can do. Neither of these has line of sight on an American unit, so they're going to just drop op fires on those to use them, essentially. And that ends the Japanese phase. We flip back to the U.S. So let's finish up this this thing here. So we have a 7 here. I already said I was going to do this. I'm going to fire him at this unit. So it's 7 -2. It's a 5. We get a 4, so we do suppress him, which doesn't really do a whole lot. But you're trying to actually see if you can roll low enough to get, because if I had rolled a 3 or less, it would have been actually fully suppressed and a casualty, so he would have been reduced. But that didn't happen. So now we have these 2 are in melee, and now we have this guy over here. So what I would like to do here is he can move here for 3, here for 4. And that might be all I do. That might be all I do. because I don't have enough to move into here, and moving here doesn't really have much benefit to me. So let me mark that as used. That is the end of that, and that basically means the end of operations phase. So we are going to now go to the route phase. So the route phase, again, if you're not in beneficial terrain and you are adjacent to a unit, then you must check for routing. They have an S for Sai Shin, so they don't route unless they're in melee, so that one would not apply there. These guys are in beneficial terrain, so they don't need to check. This one does need to check. So he needs to roll less than a 6 so that he can stay in melee. And he rolls a 9. So this has been the way this game has gone for me. So he's going to back up and go into this hex right here, which provides beneficial terrain, and he's now used. That also is going to result in this decoy going away, because the decoy now has line of sight on an enemy unit, and the decoy goes away. That is the way the rule works. So we have op, that op fire, I'll just remove it. So now we go to melee, and we only have one melee now. Actually, we have two. We have one here and one here. None of these guys are suppressed. This one is not suppressed, and we already did that and had to route, of course, because that's how this game has gone thus far. So that is what it is. All right, we're going to roll here. We'll roll for the Americans first. We'll do this one. They have a 6. The Japanese have a 1. We get a 9 and a 1, so they are already reduced 1, so that will kill them, but they do get to roll to see if they do any damage, and they do. So they'll get to reduce them 1 as well. So these guys are eliminated. This guy gets reduced, and because he is reduced, he also becomes fully suppressed. And he's still used, so we'll leave that on there for now. Now we'll do this one here, where we have 2 American units, both with a melee of 6 against a Japanese with a melee of 2. So we'll do the top unit first. He gets 1 hit. We'll do the second unit. He gets 1 hit, so that's 2 hits. That will eliminate the Japanese. Now we'll do for them. They get no hits. So he's eliminated. And that is that. And that is the end of the first turn. So I am going to pause now and clean the board up, and then we will pick this back up with turn number 5 momentarily. Okay, so we're back and ready to resume here. Actually, this guy should be marked conceal. And so should this guy. And I think that's it. Yes. Okay. So again, we're in turn 5. The U.S. goes first, and you're not going to be able to see my turn marker there when I goes to turn 6 here. All right. So the board's getting a little lighter here. Actually, let me slide it up a little bit so we get a better view. So here's our board. There's not a whole lot left. The Americans have taken a couple of casualties. The Japanese have, I think, 4. And they've also lost their 2 decoys. So they're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. And I have 2 turns as the Americans to try to eliminate them, which isn't going to be easy. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to move this guy here, okay, and not into the open, because moving in open, bad idea. Bad idea. Now, I'm going to try to get both of these guys into melee with this unit, I guess. Maybe. We'll see what happens here. So he moves here. They're going to op fire, of course. So it's 3. Plus 3 is 6. Minus 2. They need a 4 or less. And they get a 4, of course. The Japanese never fail to suppress, ever, at least in this scenario. They need a 4, they get a 4 or less. That's just the way it's gone. So now I'm going to roll for my morale check here. Roll a 6, so that's good. So he gets into melee. They're used. They are also used. They will have to take a morale check before the melee, which they will probably fail and have to retreat out. which is why we're going to move this guy in too. So he's going to move here 1. Oh, I did need to use a command point for that. I forgot to do that. So he used his command point as well. Now he's going to move in here, and he's going to be marked used. And he can do that because it's 1 plus 3 is 4, which is less than 5. So he used 4 of his 5 movement points. So that's 2 activations for the Americans. Now we will take our weapons team here and fire on this guy. So it's 7 minus 2 is 5. Roll the 7. Unsurprisingly, no love. So that's 3. And I don't know if it's even worth it to try to do anything else here. This is killing me that we can't do anything here. Oh boy. All right, let's move our weapons team here. So you can move here for 1.5 and then into here for 3, which would be 4.5. So I have to use my other command point. Now he can opportunity fire on him, which he will. Why not? That'll mark him used. Although it might be better. You know what? On second thought, he's going to hold off because then he can be used to fire on this machine gun. Why not? That makes more sense. So he's here, and now that he's moved here, he's going to fire at this guy. So his proficient firepower is a 5. We're going to lose 1 for this and 2 for that, so that becomes a 2. So we're looking for a 2 or a 1, and we got a 10. All right. That's 4. That's the American phase. They're done. We'll fire this guy at him, so he gets a 4. Plus adjacent is 3, so that's a 7 minus 2 is 5. So that was a better shot. That's why we waited. And he rolled a 9. So there's a whole lot of shooting and not a whole lot of hitting going on right now. That's 1 for them. Now we'll fire with our machine gun at these guys right here. 7 across the kunai. They'll take a -1. They'll take a -2 for this. That's a 4. They get a 2, so it's an event. And it is a suppression of both of these units. And now we'll roll for the event, which is going to apply to the Americans, and we get a 9. So 9 is gain 2 additional one-time use CPs again. So we have already gotten this once, and now we're getting it again. And I'm using these no-hill markers for it to kind of differentiate them from the regular command points, if I've already used 2 of those. So I'm going to make use of these most likely. So that'll mark the machine gun is used. We're going to also shoot with this guy. Same thing. It's going to be a -3, so he needs a 1. And gets a 7. So I wasn't expecting that to hit. They're used. That is 3 for the Japanese. They can do 5. I think they're going to hold off at this point. Maybe, you know what? Maybe what we'll do is we'll put an op fire on here for 4 and be done. That way, if this guy or this guy comes up, they'll be able to op fire on him with full firepower. That would seem to be a smart move on their part. So that's what we're going to do. Back to the Americans. Man, this is tough. Let me tell you. We're going to move him here, okay? That's going to subject him to op fire. These guys can do final op fire, so they will. We'll start with the machine gun. 6 minus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7, minus 2 is 5. So he gets a 5. So that's going to be a reduction and a full suppression for rolling 4 under the firepower because their casualty number is a 4. So we have an event as well for the Japanese. I'm going to roll here to see if they pass their morale check with a 2, which they won't. And they didn't, so he's used. Trying to get into melee so I can kill these guys and win the scenario, and it's just not working. So let me roll for the event, and we get a 6. And this is for the Japanese. Add concealment counters to 2 unconcealed, unmounted squads that are in a hex that gives them a beneficial terrain modifier and is not adjacent to an enemy unit. Well, we only have 1 of those, and it's right there. So we're going to drop a conceal marker on them. And now I can do the remainder of my op fire. So we have this guy here. He's a 2. -2 is 0. +3. So he needs a 1. Got a 4, so no dice. These guys, I think I'll pass because that would be a 2 -1. So they're going to take a -3. He needs a 2 to hit, and this guy would therefore need a, well, he's a 2. So 2 -3 +3. It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a wow. Yeah, no, that's not worth it. It's not adjacent either. So they're going to stay concealed. So that's 1 for the U.S. We're going to take this guy and we're going to try to get in here with this, and I'm going to go through the jungle as opposed to going through the kunai grass for the better defensive benefit here. He's going to move here. They can do final op fire, so they will. 2 -2 is 0. +3, so they need they need a 3 or less. They get a 6, so that failed. So they get into, I forgot to roll for their morale check. Okay, all right, so they're in. They're in for. I could have used it here though. Again, though, it would have been hard for them to hit doing that. But on the other hand, you know what? Well, no, it's too late now. They're in there for melee. They might not stick anyway because they're going to have to take a morale check before we do during the route phase. So, yeah. So now let's finish up with the Americans here. We've used what, 2? Yes, 2 this turn. So I can do 2 more. So we'll take both of these guys. We'll start with this one. I do need to use one of these on here. I'm just going to throw it out because you don't get to get those back, and they're done. I'm going to use one on this guy too. So he's going to go 3. Actually, maybe not. Maybe not. Because that would be 3, 6. If I go 3, 4.5 and spend 1 to get, that's what I'm going to do. This is going to be tough. So he's going to go here or here, it doesn't matter, and then out here into the kunai because we want to assault this hex. But he's got op fire, so he gets full firepower. He gets full firepower, which is a 5. So it's 5. +3 is 8. -1 is 7. So this is dicey to say the least here. And he rolled a 4. So luckily for the Americans, that's just a suppression and not a suppression and a reduction, which it would have been if they had rolled a 3 or lower. So now this American will roll against his morale, which is a 6, gets a 4, so he's getting in there for melee, and that's what I wanted to do. And that's a second one of these guys used, so I'm going to just throw it out. Now I have 1 left, and I'm going to use it for this guy. He's going to do the same exact thing, and because he's already in melee, he can just jump right in there, and we're going to put a used on him as well, making quite the stack here, and then we'll dispense with our last one. So that is our last one, and we are done. We go back, flip it back over to the Japanese. I'm debating whether I should try to be aggressive or not, because they have a command point. They do have, the colonel is a pretty courageous fellow here, whose morale gets a +1 bonus. So we're gonna try to get him into melee right here. So, although I don't know, because if he goes here, that's 1.5. It would cost him 4.5. With that, he could do it. They're suppressed, so they would have to they'd have to pass a morale check to fire. Let's try it. So they're gonna attempt to fire. So we have to pass the morale check first. We rolled a 1, so we do pass the morale check, so they're going to fire now. So their proficient firepower, if I can get that out of the way, is a 3. Plus 3 minus 1, so it's going to be a 6, right? No, 5. 3 plus 3, yeah, it's a 5. And they rolled a 10, so that's a miss. So they're going to get marked used. And now we'll do the same with our machine gun, which does not need to take a morale check. So that's 7 plus 3. Actually, he does, because he was the whole hex was suppressed. So he needs to roll a 6 or less as well. Does. 7 or 6 rather, plus 3 minus 1 is 8. Gets an 8. So he's going to suppress. Now he can roll, and he needs an 8 or less because he's got a 7. And he got a 10. So the colonel is suppressed and used. Now he can try it as well, and these would be final op fire, so why not? So this is, he's just going to move here because he won't have enough to move into, you know what, maybe he should just stay there then. He's just going to stay there. I'm going to mark him op fire, and that will conclude this turn's operations, and we'll move into the route phase. So we got to check this guy here for route. He's going to undoubtedly route because we need to roll a 2 or a 1. We rolled a 7, so he's going to route back to, he'll route here. Then we have, these guys are adjacent to a unit, so they have to check as well. So we need to roll a 6 or less, so he did not pass that, so he's going to back out. They can't back that way. He's going to back this way. So he's in here with him and suppressed. And then he's got to check. I don't have a suppression on him, but he is suppressed. And he rolled a 3, so he's fine. So let me put a suppression on there. He's fine. He doesn't have to check. This American is fine. The one underneath him, though, is suppressed. So we need to roll a 6 here. And we do, so that one stays. And we have one that is suppressed here as well. He'll also need to roll a 6, and does, so that one's good. Last one needs a 6 as well. Gets a 1. Okay, so everybody passed their route check. Now we'll do melee. We'll start up here. The Americans have a 6. Japanese have a 2. So we'll roll the Americans first. Both hits, so that's going to eliminate the Japanese. Now let's roll for the Japanese. And they get no hits. So this guy is dead. And they are here. Now let's do this one. They have 2 American units, 6 and 6, and the Japanese have a 2, right? 3. So the Americans, we get 2 with 6, and the Japanese have 3. So the Americans, 1 hit. And the second one, 2 hits, so that's going to eliminate the Japanese. The Japanese have a 3. They get 2 hits. So this guy's reduced, so he'll get killed. This guy gets reduced and remains used. And this Japanese unit is eliminated. So this has been kind of a bloody one here. We have one more to do. This is also 2 American units. Both of them are 6s. And the Japanese is a 3. So it's the same thing we just did. 2 misses for the first American. And we get a 6 and a 9 with the second one. So that's only 1 hit. Now the Japanese will roll. 5 and a 4, both misses. So we'll put that command point back. He's going to get reduced. They are going to get reduced. And I think when you get reduced, you go fully suppressed as well. So they're going to be fully suppressed. I don't need to worry about the use. Those markers are coming off anyway. Okay, so that is the end of the turn. We're going to go to the sixth and final turn. Honestly, I don't think the Americans are going to win this. They're going to try, but I don't think they're going to win this. So let me reset the board, and then we'll be ready for the final turn. Okay, time to do the final turn, sixth and final turn of this scenario. So the Americans need to eliminate the final 5 Japanese units. This is going to be a tall order because these guys are reduced. These 2 are reduced. They have one of these are reduced. There's only, I think, 1 full strength squad and 2 full strength weapons teams left. But the task is before them. They must take over and do their jobs, right? Okay, first thing we're going to do. We're going to move this squad here for 3. They will then be fired upon by the Japanese. So 2 plus 3 is 5, minus 2 is 3. Rolled a 10, that's an automatic miss. Okay? They're going to move into melee and we'll use a command point for that. All right, so that is 1 of our moves. So I mark him used. Now we're going to do the same thing with our weapons. No, you know what? We're not going to do that with the weapons team. What we are going to do with the weapons team is move them here. Now they're going to fire at these guys. So the question is, do they want to op fire back? I'm going to go for no here because they can go full strength fire at this guy or op fire when he comes in to one of these 2 hexes to assault them, which is presumably what the Americans are going to do. And in fact, that is what I'm planning. So these guys will shoot. They get a 5, minus 1, minus 2. It's a 4. So that's only it's only a 1. So we only hit on a 1 here. We didn't get it, of course. I didn't think I would. And that's that for that. So that's 2 activations now for the Americans. These guys are in melee, can't touch them. They're fine. Let's move this guy up to this hex here for our 3rd activation. And then again, are they going to op fire? I'm going to go no. They're going to shoot. So it's 6, minus 1, minus 2. They get a 3. So it's a little bit better odds with this particular one. And they rolled a 7, so they don't get it either. Now this guy for my 4th and final activation is in fact going to go here. They are going to op fire now. So 6 plus 3 is 9, minus 1 is 8. And they rolled an 8, so they do suppress him. Now we'll do the other guy as well. So he has a 2 plus 3 minus 1, so he has a 4. And they rolled an 8 as well. So these are both used now. Now, if he can pass his morale check, he can get in there for melee. So that's what we're hoping for. And he did, in fact, achieve that. So he's in there for melee. And that is what I was hoping to do. That's all 4 activations. We flip over to the Japanese. These guys are going to assault this hex here, but they're going to op fire before they leave. We might as well. Well, should they do that? Should they do that, or should they just move here? Or, in fact, jump back into this melee. Maybe they'll do that. So they're going to jump into this melee, but these guys are going to fire at them first. So 6 rather, minus 1 plus 3. So we're adding 2 to 6. We need an 8 or less. And we rolled a 6. It would have been nice to roll a low number because that would have really jacked these guys up. But they did suppress them. So they suppressed them here. And now he gets to roll. And he's got a 7, but he gets a plus 1 because that's the colonel. So he only needs to roll an 8 or less. And he rolls a 7. So he gets to go back in here. And he'll get marked as used. And now the melee in there will continue. That's 1, and that's really the only one they can do. So it flips back to the Americans, and we need to mark these guys as used. So this is the last thing, and this is why. So these are both identical, basically. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to move him here for 3 and then 3 again to get him into melee with this unit. So I am going to use my command point for that. And he's going to be marked used, and that is the end of their points, basically. Now I have one more unit who is suppressed, so I need to use him, and I will. There's really not a whole lot he can do, though. I guess I'll just mark him op fire. Essentially, we're passing because there's nothing he can do. I can move him here for 1.5 and even here for 3, but then I don't have another command point to flip him into this area to become the second American in that melee. So the problem, here's the problem. By the Colonel successfully getting in there, the Japanese have guaranteed that they're not going to lose this scenario. Because he can't, the one American, even if he hits on both, he's not going to eliminate both Japanese units. Therefore, the Japanese are going to win. So we can go now to the rout phase. The only one we'll be checking, I don't know that we'll be checking anybody, actually. Actually, we will. We have to check this American here. So he needs to roll a, he's actually, I forgot about this, but his morale is a 6, but he gets a +2 because he's in with the Japanese, and I've been missing that rule. I forgot about it. So, son of a gun. All right. Well, let's make it as hard as possible. Unbelievable. All right. Yeah, wow. Okay, so he failed that. These guys, I think, oh, this one has to roll too. So again, they need an 8 or less. And they got it. Okay. So they get to stay. The one in here is not a check. The Japanese don't have to check because they're Saishin, I believe. And they're not, well, that one's not even, the Colonel definitely is. This guy, I think, is as well. Yep. All right, so let's roll our melees. We'll start over here. They're reduced, so I only need to hit 1, and it's a 6 or less. And we did get it. So they're going to be eliminated. Now we'll roll for the Japanese. Their number is a 3, I believe. Yes. They missed on both. So the Americans win this one and kill this guy. So that's eliminated. Now let's do this one over here where we have a chance to actually kill them both. So we have a 6 and a 6 against a 2 and a 2. So first American, no hits. Second American, 1 hit. So that's kind of how it's gone. Japanese, no hits. Second Japanese, no hits. So the Americans take, they do one damage, so that would reduce one of these guys. I'm not even going to worry about the suppression or not because the game's over. The Japanese have won, but we'll play it out anyway. So these guys have a 6 as well, 1 hit, and the Japanese have a 1 and a 4. So they missed, and they missed. So they missed all of theirs. This guy on the bottom would be eliminated. The Colonel survives. So the Japanese end up winning the scenario. The game is over. They've won. They managed to have 3 units make it out through there. The rolling for the Japanese was good, and the rolling for the Americans in general was bad. So there is some luck involved. You know, this is a fun system. I really like it. I probably screwed up here and there. I know I did because I always do. But I feel like it worked out pretty well. The dice were not really on my side all that much. But it is what it is. We are going to call it a day here. That is the end of Scenario 58, Mopping Up. This was a Japanese victory. And yeah, that's going to do it. So I hope you enjoyed. And if you did manage to watch all 3, kudos to you. That's awesome. I appreciate you checking out my videos. If you would, please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing. That would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. My name's Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered, and until next time, happy gaming.